Knowing I'll never reach you, but being okay with getting close. Number 73. How Barbara Hepworth helped me recover from the World Cup. My mum called this morning. She said she had something to confess. "I don't think I can be trusted," she said. "Or perhaps it's more that I can't trust myself." This morning she said that the pain was so bad that the carer wanted to take her to hospital. My mum refused, said it would be fine. She's of that generation, of that disposition that no matter how bad it is, you just muddle on. You certainly don't ask for help, and you most certainly don't tell anyone how you're feeling. Well, you wouldn't want to make a fuss. Even the time I found her in the hallway, on her back, pale, in agony and bleeding from a head wound, she insisted she just needed an aspirin, that she'd be fine. I pretended to look in the medicine cabinet and called an ambulance, despite her protesting that she didn't need one. But the pain this morning, she said, it was so debilitating that she consented to go and see the doctor. And then, miraculously, it was gone. The pain just went away. "I think," she said, "I may have been dreaming it. But it was so vivid, so real, so excruciatingly real that I felt it. I actually felt it." When the second goal went in and England went out of the World Cup semi-final, it was almost a relief. Watching the England men's team play tournament football is not a happy or enjoyable experience. It is a painful one. There was a part of me that was actually glad to see them lose, that I'd not have to sit through another agonizing 90 minutes, watch them struggle, hang on, scrape by. Of course, there were moments to celebrate, flashes of magic, but generally watching England is a torturous and miserable undertaking. Pundits and managers alike will talk of winning ugly, about getting the job done. There is no mention of poetry, or the fluidity of the beautiful game. In its purest form, football is ballet brute, is art physique, is the great drama sportif. It can be elegant, but mostly it's an exercise in suffering. In America, football is presented as entertainment. Goals are greeted with jingles, games begin with enthusiastic announcements and countdowns over the stadium's sound system. The World Cup has become a puffed-up pageant, a gaudy, money-making spectacle, and yet I follow it with the same duty and commitment, with the same contained excitement and expectation that I have for poetry. It has become a part of me. I live with it and through it. I am frustrated as much as I am exhilarated by it. Roughly 25% of all games will end in a draw, with almost 10% of those being goalless. When I was a reader for a national poetry competition, most of the work I encountered in the preliminary rounds was turgid and dull. I came across hundreds of 1-0 losses, an abundance of 0-0 draws. Overwhelmingly, though, what I confronted in the poems was suffering. What made the experience miserable was not being witness to pain, but to people's inability to artfully articulate it. If I was a football pundit, I'd call out a lack of commitment, say the approach was sloppy, careless, casual. Hurting is not enough. Feelings require investigation. Pain must be expressed. I want my football and my poetry to be open and free-flowing. If there is loss, then let it be moving and beautiful. Let defeat be thrilling and exhilarating. Remember Gazza's tears in Turin, how they lubricated the nation's heartbreak. That was poetry. Let's be honest. Most poetry, like most football, is utter rubbish. Most poetry is just like watching England play. It is painful, Not because it is an eloquent representation of human suffering. It is painful because it's just a bit shit. There was a time when certain matchday commentators even had sympathy for supporters who let their passions run away with them, who caused trouble on the terraces, showed more fight than the team they'd paid to see. While we certainly can't condone this kind of behaviour, after watching a display like that, one can understand the fans' frustrations. I feel the same way about bad poetry. The extortionate rise in ticket prices has meant that most ordinary supporters will watch games at home. Football is no longer a spectator sport. Instead, it has become a corporate television production. This has certainly led to one horrific consequence of the modern game. Domestic abuse rises by 25% when England play, by almost 40% if they lose. After the match, a young black girl with a St. George's flag painted on her cheek, an England shirt tied off at her waist, Bellingham's name emblazoned across her back, smiles at me as we step off the bus. We share a moment together in defeat. We are united briefly in disappointment, our hopes consumed by the hot July night. Much has changed in the years I've followed football. There is a diversity of interest, a more collective assembly that should be welcomed and encouraged. In polite society, it's acceptable to share your appreciation of the game. Like poetry, it is no longer exclusively the domain of the deranged fanatic. It isn't all about winning. Of the 48 teams competing in this year's World Cup, 47 of them will have lost out on the prize. Losing is a far more familiar experience. Losing is something we are accustomed to but never readily accept despite its inevitability. We navigate loss on a daily basis, lose our keys, our jobs, occasionally our friends. We lose money, lose interest, lose patience. We will mourn lost causes, lost opportunities, lost lives, lost loves. I watched this World Cup because I was myself lost. I watched not in hope of any vicarious victory, but as a distraction, as elevation, as liberation from this limping life. I watched because I sought relief from the pain of the everyday. I watched England games with my brother and we suffered together, and then it was over. But the pain didn't go away. The next day, Emma took me to see the Barbara Hepworth exhibition. I marvelled at the space around the shapes as much as at the shapes themselves, considered the emptiness they left behind. I saw subtlety and colour, poise and play, tension and precision, balance and accident, everything you might expect from a poem or from a football match. Under one of the pieces, the inscription described how this particular work had, over time, lost its lustre, how Hepworth had retouched it with a mixture of dulux and a little artist's pure cobalt. Fading blues, it read, were a recurrent problem for the artist. Fading blues. Fading blues. Win or lose, how I wish I had the fading blues. When I got the call from my mother, when she told me that perhaps she had imagined the pain and yet still felt it, I thought about how unique the experience of suffering is. Not everyone was upset when England lost the semi-final. Not everyone cries at the end of the movie. Not everyone is touched by poetry. To some, poetry is just people making a fuss. Life isn't about winning or losing or hurting or healing or bleeding or feeling. It's just about muddling on and hoping that the pain will go away. Fading blues, fading blues. Win or lose, how I wish I had the fading blues. Pain isn't something that we choose, how I wish. I had the fading blues.